What you're about to hear is mind-blowing. Let me tell you something that almost no media is saying out loud. America is not trying to win this war. America is trying to figure out how to leave it. And that difference, that gap, is the most important thing happening in the world right now. It sounds strange, right? This is the most powerful military on Earth. Advanced Air Force, carrier groups, unmatched technology. So why would a country like that already be thinking about an exit? That is exactly what we are going to unpack. But first, go back to May 2024. The world felt predictable. Analysts were saying there would be no war with Iran. Politics looked stable. Nothing suggested major shift was coming. And yet, the situation changed fast. Now we are here, watching a conflict that could reshape global power. So let's focus on the only question that matters. How does this war actually end? Start with the players, not what they say, what they actually want. America says it wants stability, security, and to prevent nuclear escalation. But underneath all of that, there's a deeper priority: maintaining influence over global energy and economic systems. Because for decades, global oil trade has been tied closely to the US dollar. That creates demand for the currency, supports the economy, and reinforces global influence. So when you hear talk about stability in the region, part of that conversation is really about maintaining that system. Now look at Iran. Iran's primary goal is simple: survival. It has seen what happened to other countries in the region. It has faced years of pressure and sanctions, so its strategy is built around endurance. But beyond survival, it also wants recognition as a regional power with influence and security. Now add the regional players. Israel is focused on security and strategic positioning. The Gulf states are focused on stability and survival, aligning themselves carefully based on how the situation evolves. That is the landscape. Now here are the structural realities shaping everything. First, air power alone cannot decide this kind of conflict. History shows this clearly. Air dominance can weaken an opponent, but it does not create total victory on its own. A full resolution would require ground involvement, and that is where things become far more complicated. Iran is geographically large, heavily populated, and has spent years preparing defensive strategies. So any ground escalation carries serious risk. Second, the cost dynamic matters. Modern warfare is not just about strength, it is about sustainability. When lower cost systems are used in large numbers against higher cost defenses, it creates pressure over time, and that pressure adds up. Third, the economic impact spreads globally. Key trade routes in the region are critical to energy supply and global commerce. Disruptions affect fuel prices, supply chains, and everyday costs worldwide. So even people far from the conflict begin to feel its effects. Fourth, political support is not unlimited. As conflicts become longer and more expensive, public support tends to decline. We have seen this pattern before, and that creates pressure to find an exit. So now we come to the key question: what happens next? There are two main paths. One, the conflict remains limited, primarily air and indirect engagement. In this case, the situation continues over time. Costs rise, pressure builds, and eventually a decision is made to step back, presented as a strategic outcome. A gradual disengagement. Two, escalation to ground involvement. This dramatically increases the stakes, militarily, economically, and politically. And because of those risks, this path is far less likely. So the most probable direction? No large-scale ground invasion. Instead, a prolonged conflict followed by a gradual withdrawal. Not a sudden collapse, not a clear-cut victory, but a slow shift. And after that, the region adjusts, power balances shift, new dynamics emerge. Not instantly, but over time. Now, 3 quick points people often ask. Will nuclear weapons be used? Very unlikely. The consequences would be too severe for everyone involved. Will there be a clear agreement? Difficult, because trust between sides is extremely low. How long will this take? Potentially 1 to 3 years before major outcomes become clear. So what are we really watching? Not just a war, a transition, a moment where long-standing systems are being tested under pressure. And moments like this are rare, because history usually only becomes clear after it happens. But right now, we're watching it unfold in real time. And the only real question left is how it ends and what comes after.